Now Aziz recovers. Alhamdulillah. Aziz recovers. Hallelujah. Aziz has to prepare everything for the trip to the Malabar caves. Remember, he has invited some people to the Malabar caves, right? Do you think he has to keep his invitation or to break it, just like Indians? He has to keep his invitation, right? So he has to prepare everything for the Malabar caves, including what? Food, chairs, tents, not a lot of. The strange thing is that Aziz has to get and move everything to the train station. He does not want to be late. He does not want to miss the train. So he spends the night at the train station. He knows that the British people are what? Are punctual. You understand that the British people are punctual. And he does not want to miss the train. If he misses the train, the trip is ruined. The trip is sabotaged. It's cancelled. It's going to be cancelled, right? So he wants to make sure that he catches the first train that goes to the Malabar caves. And that's why he has to take everything he has to get ready for everything of his preparations. He has to take everything to the train station and spends the night at there. Second part of his preparations is when the train reaches the foot of the mountains. Well, after the train reaches the Malabar Cave station, there needs to be another transportational means. And Aziz thinks that it is the elephants, not the camels, but the elephants. Everything he has to get ready to be moved and to be waiting at the train station. Second, he has to use the elephants. He has to use the elephants, as you can see in the picture. No questions about this part? Now, I ask this question. Who could board the train? Who could get on the train? Who used the train? It's very important to know that not all those people got to the train station. Mr. Fielding and Professor Goodbally miss the train. They don't get on the train. There are only 3 people who boarded the train. Aziz, Adila Quested, and Mrs. Moore. Well, what about Fielding and Professor Goodbally? They both miss the train. Question 30, طبعا. You go to question 30. Goodbally was late for his morning prayer. Goodbally spent time praying in the temple. Now, what religion is Goodbally? Professor Goodbally? Hindus. And normally, Hindus go to the temple at what time? In the morning, before or after the sunrise? After, yeah. Hindus go to the temple after the sunrise. Now, who was waiting for him? Mr. Fielding. And because both have to wait until Professor Goodbally finishes his prayer, when they reach the train station, the Malabar Cave train has already gone. You following? You following? With Miss Adila Quested and Mrs. Moore, Ronnie Heaslip sends a guard, a bodyguard, someone like a bodyguard. There is a bodyguard who comes with Adila Quested and Mrs. Moore. But at the train station, Adila Quested asks the bodyguard to go back to where he comes from. She does not want to be watched. She refuses Ronnie Hayslip's assignment of this bodyguard to accompany her to the Malabar caves. That's why she just asked the bodyguard to come back where he comes from. I mean, to come back to Mr. Ronnie.
I think you will not need your servant.
No, indeed.
And then we shall all be Muslims together.
Anthony? I don't like him at all. Anthony, you can go now. We won't need you anymore.
Master told me to stay.
Mistress told you to go.
Master says, keep near ladies all morning.
Please go.
Once they reach the caves, as you can see in the picture, as soon as Aziz, Mrs. Moa, Adila Quested reach at the foot of the mountain, they start to camp. You know, they set up the tent, or let's say a big umbrella, the chairs, as you can see in the picture, chairs, the table, the drink, breakfast. They have to take their breakfast, right? The mat, there is a mat, a large mat beneath. The food is there. So at the foot of the mountain, Aziz immediately sets the tent, or let's say the big umbrella, and you know, they are ready to take their breakfast. They rest from the long journey. After they finished their morning, the breakfast, they moved to the lower caves. Lower caves. You know, the mountain is a group of caves. They have got lower caves. They have got higher caves. All right. What happens in the cave, in the lower cave, to Mrs. Moore? What happens in the cave? What happens to Mrs. Moore in the cave? Mrs. Moore has to experience a tough experience. This is a tough experience for Mrs. Moore. Question 31. Describe what happens in the cave in which Mrs. Moore entered. The cave is dark. The cave is hot, overcrowded with other local tourists, because they are not alone. We should not believe that Aziz, Mrs. Moore, and Adila Quested were the only tourists in the Malabar caves. The Malabar caves is full of other Indian tourists. The chambers of the caves are small and stinky. But worse than all of these things, the cave is full of what? Of echoes. The cave is a group of chambers. Each chamber opens up to another one, opens to another chamber. It's like a labyrinth of chambers. Mrs. Moore could not get out of the cave. She does not like it. She does not understand it. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's scary, it's stinky, it's small. Remember, it's hot. What is the season? It's summer. They are in a cave. What do you think the temperature inside is? Yeah, it's like they are chicken cooked in an oven. All right? The people, the visitors in the cave are like chicken cooked in the oven. Right? It's very hot inside there. So do you think Mrs. Moore likes it? Has Mrs. Moore liked it? No. So she changes her mind. She changes her mind. She no longer wants to go into more and more chambers of the cave. She just changes her mind and decides to what? Decides to get out of the caves. Could she do that? Could she get out of the cave peacefully? No. She could not get out of the cave peacefully. Why? Because of the echo. Every word she says, every instruction, like give me way, is tarnished, is diminished down to a monosyllabic sound. What's the sound? What's the sound? Boom. The sound is one thing. It's boom. Every word she says, like, please give me way, please give me way. Every sound, every word she says travels across the chambers of the other chambers of the cave and return, but it is diminished, it's tarnished, it's not the original word she said. So usually, as she's reported, it's diminished to a monosyllabic sound. What is it? Boom. Just boom. The cave is full of booms. So Mrs. Moore was almost suffocated in the cave. Remember, she's an old lady in her 80s. In her 80s, she is an old lady. She cannot struggle. She's not powerful enough to struggle through the crowds of the Indians who are pouring into the caves. So she has to do that. She has to struggle out of the cave. She thinks that she is going to die suffocated. After she gets out of the cave, she thinks she is born again. Why? She thinks that she was born again. She can't believe that she could make it successfully out of the caves. It was a horrible experience. Now, I'm asking you, are the other local Indians having the same experience, the same terrible experience that I'm talking about the local tourists, other local tourists. And who is suffering in this cave? Only Mrs. Moore. Well, what about the other Indian locals? Is it fine with them? Why? Yes, why do you think Mrs. Moore was the only one who was suffering? No, there are old Indian women in the caves. There are other Indian women, old and young, men and women, children. If you can see the pictures that I'm looking at, it's a variety of ages there of people. Then why is Mrs. Moore the only one who is disturbed, who is out of balance, who could not enjoy it? I'm not going to say the answer. You must say the answer, all right? If Mrs. Moore has a trip to, if Mrs. Moore has a trip to Najd Desert, to this kingdom, to our kingdom here, do you think she's going to like it? Do you think this British woman will like the trip to Najd Desert, to Saudi Desert over here? Even though she is surrounded with many and many Saudis, or let's say Bedouins, nomads. Do you think she's going to love it in here? No. In the desert, she's not going to love it. While the Saudi Bedouins are not having any problem to live in the desert, right? Do they have problems? I'm talking about Bedouins, the local people. Do you have any problems with living in the desert? No. But why is Mrs. Moore having trouble? The answer is, she is not Indian. She is not Indian. The caves is an Indian natural phenomenon. The cave is an Indian aspect that only Indians understand. Just like the desert. The Saudi desert is a place that can fit only for the Bedouins. Right? You following me? Do Bedouins die in the desert? No, they live. They adapt themselves to the harsh circumstances of the desert. They don't die in the desert. Well, what about Mrs. Moore? Do you think she's going to love living there or seeing there? No. Why? Because this is not her nature. She is not used to living in the desert. She's gonna die in the desert. Just like when she is now in the cave. Does she like the cave? She hates the cave. Why? Because she does not understand the cave. The Indian nature is spitting the British out. You know the meaning of spitting? Because India is not their homeland. They can't understand India. They can never understand the Indian nature. So even the nature there cannot understand the British. Even the Indian nature is ununderstandable by the British. Here we've got an example of a literary work where the writer is trying to give us a message. The message is the British cannot understand the nature of a colonized, the nature of an occupied country that they were not born in. India is not where the British are born. That's why they don't understand it. You're following? They can't understand this nature. تماما كما أنه يعني ابن الأنهار الذي عاش قريبا من الأنهار ما يستطيع يتحمل فكرة أنه يعيش في منطقة ما فيها مياه، يعبث بها، يتروش بها، يرش بها، ما يستطيع يتحمل الفكرة هذه لأنه ابن الأنهار. معايا؟ ابن الأنهار ما يعيش في الصحراء، ابن الصحراء ما يعيش في الجبال، وهكذا. أنت معي؟ It's like this, we were born to a nature that keeps protecting us, and we are adapted. We have adapted to this nature. طبيعي جدا that man adapts himself, customizes himself for the several aspects of the nature he was born in. ابن الجبال يعيش بطريقة معينة ويستطيع يتكيف مع البيئة اللي هو فيها. معايا؟ ابن الصحراء كذلك، ابن الكهوف كذلك، ابن الغابات أيضا كذلك، ابن الأنهار يعيش بطريقة متكيف معها. لذلك they cannot interchange their places. It's difficult to change their places. Maybe they will change their places for, temporarily, but not forever. Because they can't go on living in a different nature that will spit him out of the nature.